So, technical difficulties, but we're all here. And for the record, show that regular members Ken Johnson, Marge Smith.
Hear me?
Oh yes, Paul Yegid, and
Hello?
Tony's here too. Anthony
Can't hear you.
Palumbo. You can't hear me? Can you hear anyone?
I can hear you.
Thank
I
you.
can hear you.
Okay, so we're waiting for Paul to get his sound back up. Uh-oh. No, I can't seem to send him a chat. Just going to you, Ty.
Trying to get audio, sorry.
Okay. Ty, can you send a message to, oh, there we go. Nope, it's not coming up. It's not
Yeah,
letting me
try that.
chat to anyone but you. Ty, maybe you could send a chat. Paul, are you there? Are you there, Paul? Nope.
Yeah, that's weird. I can't.
Ty, can you send a chat to Paul?
No.
You can't?
No.
Well, it's set up directly to go to you.
Yeah.
And where's the volume on this? And where's the volume?
Okay.
I guess we should get each other's cell phone numbers so we can text if we can't get the chat. I don't have anybody's.
I've never had an experience where I couldn't chat.
No, I know, me neither.
There, click on that, it's got index.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just like to let him know we can hear him.
Yeah.
I have his cell over
I
here.
gotcha, I'm sorry.
You
Figured it
got
out.
us? All
Got it,
right.
Paul? Okay.
Yep.
Good. All right. Thanks. Nice to see everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna start over. We're gonna call the regular meeting of the Inland Wetlands Commission to order at 7:08 with technical difficulties for our late start and apologies to everybody. And for the record, show that regular members Ken Johnson, myself, Lynn Warner, Paul Yegid, Anthony Palumbo, and Marge Smith are here, along with our land use administrator Ty Kern in her first kind of on her own leadership, yay, new position. Ken Dietz just sent an email saying he's in the car and cannot, I think, make the meeting. I think that's what that said. So did everybody have a chance to read the minutes of the previous meeting, and were there any suggestions or changes or corrections?
Yeah. Let's see. Old business. 5C. I was not present at the last meeting, so I couldn't have made a motion.
All right. Does anybody remember who did make that motion?
Which was the motion?
It was the motion to approve Chris Perska for Daniel Greenbaum and Jill at 30 Kenmont Road. It was the repair of the piers. Remember, we had the discussion about how they were
Yeah,
gonna,
I do remember now, but I don't remember who made the,
you seconded it.
yeah.
I can go back. I can go back and check.
Okay.
Okay.
I found one little kind of grammatical issue. It's not a big deal. Under 4C, second paragraph, first line. It says the commission noted the limited topography on the site plan submitted and asked for a more detailed plan showing the topography to be submitted. It should either be an asked that a more detailed plan, or it should be to be submitted, asked for something to be submitted. It's just a little grammar thing that drives me nuts. Anything else? Any other comments, questions, corrections?
No, I thought it was well done.
Very well done.
I move we approve the minutes.
With those corrections, Ken,
Yes.
second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Marge. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Okay. Great. So next on the agenda is new business. And this is application 1297-22 Brad Lerman for KMKW land. And I see, is that Hilton Wenner? And is Brad here as well? Yep, there's Brad.
Yep,
Okay,
that's him.
great.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Great. Ty, I don't know if you wanted to share anything about this application or just let Hilton and Brad present it. How would you like to do?
Yeah, I mean, this is a ropes course that actually is already existing. We're just changing it up a little bit. And I think you're familiar with the site because very close to there was a whole bathroom, maybe bathroom added maybe a year or so ago. So that's pretty much, we'll let them describe.
Okay,
Hi, so nice to meet you. Thank you all.
Hi, Brad.
The bathroom actually predates me. I'm new to the team, so a lot of you probably know the camp even better than I do. But yeah, we're really excited. The ropes course is aging, and we want to just replace it on its existing footprint. And it's just a safer, more secure. Some of the ropes courses now are kind of attached to trees, and it's much safer to put poles in place that are weather resistant. So that would be the goal, to use the exact existing footprint. And there's a pathway down to the ropes course, so no trees or wetlands should be disturbed in the replacement.
so with just a clarification, so where the ropes course is already attached to trees, are you going to be taking those trees down and replacing the trees with poles? No.
No, we would just, because the obstacles can work around, and it's actually even better to have the trees in between the obstacles. The goal is to not take down a single tree unless it's dead and at risk, but we believe none are, because we would have removed them already if they were.
I have a question from Ken Johnson. What is a
Yeah.
ropes course?
That's great. So that's a great question. So it's where you probably know, we're a youth summer camp. And so the kids put on harnesses and blaze and climb a rock wall. And then once they climb the rock wall, there's elements in the air where they go on belays and are hooked in to climb
Yes.
over in the air.
I
It's
see.
like an aerial park.
Okay. I didn't know that. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'm familiar with the area. I've seen the ropes course down there. Have you done any test boring down there?
Not yet. That the goal would be to get approval so we could do that. And so in the application, we had the engineers who would do the test boring write something up. I'm forgetting the phraseology they use, but kind of call before you dig. So they wanted to get approval before we would. But previously, we are confident it will work because there was a previous kind of soil sampling done a couple of years ago.
Okay. Now, the poles that you're setting in place, I see they're buried down to 6.5 feet. Are they then set in concrete?
I think it depends. I think the hope is not to. I think Hilton knows a little bit better than I do, honestly. But I think the hope is to use the existing.
Yeah, so hi everybody. I'm Hilton, one of the co-directors with Brad. So yeah, so there's a specific type of machine that they need to bring in that will drill into slate, because we predict that it's slate underneath there. We don't know for certain, but based off where it's located, we believe it's slate. So they have to go a certain depth in order to put the pole in, and ideally once they set it, they shouldn't have to, but that's part of what will be I'm sorry, I've got a bit of a cough. In the next step, when we bring in the company to check the land that we'll be going into, we'll know for sure exactly how we have to put the poles in. The only thing that might be different is if we don't hit certain depths, we have to add like additional guy wire, but basically it's all with the ability to be able to stabilize the poles. I hope that makes sense. I'm not an engineer, so I apologize.
Yeah, no, I was just looking through the application. I did notice, the diagram of how deep the pole is set, guy wire to be attached to it. And you also have a picture of the ledge drilling equipment, which is a track machine with a drill set up on it. So I was just wondering that, once the hole is drilled, is it set in concrete or set in gravel? What kind of material holds the pole in place besides the guy wire? You have to backfill the hole.
I believe it depends on how deep we are able to go. And that's part of what we don't know. If we don't hit water, then I believe they use concrete. But if we do within 6 feet, then they have to use a slightly different method. But all of it, again, the guy who's doing this, he actually lives in Warren, so he's a local guy. And he was explaining this to us, that part of this will only be assessed once we actually know how deep it is. And you can't do that until they do the test drill.
So Paul, just to follow up on your question, if they were to hit water, would you have a concern about what they're using?
No, so they have.
No, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Hilton. I'm actually asking Paul the question.
No, I'm sorry.
No, I would not have a problem if they hit water. There's plenty of options. Water is not a problem.
And so in terms of whatever they would use, even if they hit water or don't hit water, do you have a concern about that?
If you have a hole and you pour concrete into a water with hole, it's still going to set. It's chemical reaction. It has nothing to do with the amount of moisture around it.
So from a wetland standpoint, you would have no concern about whatever they use to backfill the hole, or would you? That's what I'm trying to
Not really,
understand.
not either way.
Okay. All right. Okay. Any other thoughts, questions, or concerns? It sounds like no trees will be taken down. I did note that you said your goal is to not remove any trees. It is a ways away from the water and the wetlands, but still, the existing footprint and the idea that you're not going to take down trees unless they're dead. Can you guarantee that?
We do not want to take down a single tree in this process. That is our intention. In fact, we are trying to prolong the life of the trees by taking the ropes courses off the tree.
Okay.
The only thing which we just don't know is, are the trees, how good are the trees? We're doing this as more of a preventative thing because we want to build something that's going to last the next 30 years, and the trees are probably not going to do that. So that's the main rationale behind this.
So between now and the next regular meeting, which is when we would be able to approve this application, if the commission chooses to do that, would you be able to verify that, generally speaking, the trees are in good shape and your intention is not to take them down? We understand if a tree is dead or if it is causing a threat, to the use of the property or to other property on the property, that you certainly have the right to take the tree down, but your intention is not to, and we'd love to keep them if we can. And so maybe you could just take a look and let us know between now and the next meeting, whether or not, in fact, you're going to have to take trees down.
Oh, apologies. I might have caused confusion. So we've already had a tree person come to camp and survey the entire camp. We do this as frequently as we can because we have campers living in cabins.
Yeah.
And we never want a tree coming down. So we've already had that done. I used to be a lawyer, so I always caveat things. We know of no dead trees there. We don't think we're going to take any down. We've already checked, and so we should be in great shape.
So then if we were to approve the application at the next meeting, we could include the condition that if in fact in the process of doing this, you discover you have to take a tree down, you would alert us before that happens.
Yeah, we'd be happy to.
Well, does anybody have any other questions or concerns?
Nope.
Okay, so typically what we do because of state statute is we would make a motion to defer this to our next regular meeting. If any additional information were to come up in the meantime, that would be your cue to give us any updated information. Otherwise, we would be able to act at the next regular meeting.
Fantastic. Thank you.
I just asked one question. The builder, there's believe it or not, a backlog on ordering poles. And he asked us if after this meeting, if we could get a sense if we could, place the order for the poles. Do we feel fairly confident that that should be possible?
And just
The next meeting is a month away. I get it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. to
We
ask the
can't,
question.
we can't guarantee what our vote will be a month from now. It doesn't sound to me like there are significant concerns from all the commissioners, but I haven't really
All right,
heard from
no
Mark.
worries. We'll wait
Anthony.
patiently.
I understand with building materials, the backlog, it's at points now, it's running not weeks, it's running months and months and months and months. So I can understand them wanting to have preparation, in place.
But
But as you said,
We'll wait. All good.
okay,
Thank you.
it's funny, we're nervous about June coming too soon already. That's how we think. So that's why because it has to be ready for the campers, but we get it. You guys have to follow process.
okay. I mean, it doesn't sound like there's significant concerns at this point. That's all I can say. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So we just need a motion to defer this application to the next regular meeting.
I'll make a motion to table application 1297-22 to the next regular meeting.
Okay, and second? We need a second.
I'll second.
Thanks, Marge. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention? Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you,
so
everybody.
much.
Have a good evening.
Appreciate all the good
Thanks.
information too. Good application. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
All right, so we're gonna move on now to application under old business, application 129322, Art Holland for John and Mary Cesars. I don't know if there's anybody here representing this application, but if I remember correctly, at the last meeting, we didn't have any concerns or outstanding questions.
Right.
Is that right, Ty?
That's correct.
And no new information has come in to change that, right, Ty?
No new information.
So we could entertain a motion. Sounds like, unless the commissioners anybody has any questions.
No, I'll make a motion to approve application 1293-22.
Thank you, Marge. And a second.
I second.
Thanks, Ken. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention? Okay, thank you. Great. So move on to 129422, Wes Wyrick for Leslie Powell, and Wes is here. And we had asked for and did receive a additional information about topography between the activity in the lake, right? And I wondered, we all knew that this was kind of a tight site. If there were any other questions or concerns about this with that mapped information in hand. And Wes, I didn't know if you or Gary, are you?
I'm here.
Okay, if you had any additional information you wanted to share?
I added the topo onto the map, and Wes submitted the area disturbance as you requested. So I'm here. I do have the pictures if you guys wanted to review, or if you guys want to look at, I can screen share if you guys don't have copies of the map.
I think we all have the map. Ty, did
Okay.
you have any additional information that you wanted to share?
No, I think you got everything that you asked for.
Okay, so it's a complete application at the moment.
Okay.
And the information doesn't show any additional, doesn't raise any additional concerns? Ken or Paul? Or, well, Marge?
No,
No.
Okay. Thank you for this map. It's great. Appreciate it. Are we ready to make a motion on this application?
looks like it. All right, I'll make a motion to approve application 1294-22. And
Second.
thank you for the additional information.
Agreed.
I-
Second.
I second it.
Thanks, Ken. Any further discussion on this?
Nope,
Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Right.
Opposed, abstention. No opposed, no abstention. Okay. So application 1294 is approved. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for the
Thank you.
information.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care. Okay, the only other thing on the agenda is the for new business, looks like. Is the possible violation Stanley Greenbaum. I don't know if anyone is here representing Mr. Greenbaum, but we received an additional update from basically from, what's her name? From the
Cynthia
Northwest
Rabinowitz.
Conservation District. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Marge. Losing my mind. You're losing your voice. I'm losing my mind. I lost my mind. And where she identifies some approximate wetland areas based on her memory of the trench, the trowel digging that she did. And I just wanted to remind everybody about the soils report that we received from the consultant that Mr. Greenbaum hired. And the conversation that occurred, I think it was at the last meeting, with Donna around the idea that she was utilizing an old wetlands map, and that the whole site, while it may have been wetlands years ago, has been so disturbed right now that it's hard to delineate or define or even find wetland soils. So that said, I kind of feel like we're hanging up Mr. Greenbaum. I mean, I could be wrong, but it feels like we're hanging him up at this point, potentially for no good reason. And I guess, Ty, I had a question for you because I just don't remember. Is this property within the regulated area of some other nearby wetland?
Well, I'm not, I've come into this halfway through, so I don't feel comfortable. I'm not 100%. Get that.
I
I
miss-
can get that information on that.
Yeah, well, even if he is, he would have to, the property would be subject to permits for future activities on the property. That's all I'm saying. And I just can't remember how far
Well,
away he is from.
The Jay Fain and Associates mentioned that the intermittent culvert that was put into the property drains into an abutting property's pond.
That's right. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. That's right. Yep. Yep. So
Now, the thing that-
theoretically,
The thing that I'm confused at is that, reading the two reports, the one from Fain and Associates and the one from Cindy Rabinowitz are kind of conflicting when it comes down to what they're talking about with the that drainage
Yeah,
well that's been cut in.
yeah,
They're saying that the three things that she mentions: evidence of scour deposits, recent alluvium or detritus, presence of standing water, flowing water, the presence of hydrophytic vegetation.
yeah,
He's saying that in A, B, and C, there's a lack of any of that. So as far as he's concerned, it's the whole area is non-regulated wetland soil, whereas in Cindy's report,
Well, I think he's saying today it's non-regulated wetland soil.
correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cindy is saying there's a presence of a clear bank and channel and
Mhm.
2 of the 3 following criteria, which is the presence of water for at least 24 hours, the vegetation, and the evidence of scour or detritus.
Yep. Okay,
So,
that's,
like I said, we
that's,
have conflicting opinions,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I think we need to go back and say, why are we there in the first place? What are we trying to define here? What's going on with the property, what plans are, and, this is dragging on for months, so.
yes, it is. The whole thing started with as you remember, with a potential cease and desist because of material that from Donna's perspective had been dumped in the wetland of vehicles and other stuff. That has since been removed. But the question became whether or not there was wetlands on the property, so that we would understand going forward what was regulated and what wasn't. You're right. Okay, that's a good point. I didn't realize that they were that divergent. I thought they both were kind of concluding that the property had been disturbed repeatedly over time and whatever
That they did
function.
agree with, yes.
I think
Yeah.
they do agree on that.
Yeah, and so whatever functioning wetland was there is no longer there.
And Cynthia had said that she hadn't been asked to delineate the boundaries of the wetlands so that at the time of the visit, so she's not able to do that. I mean, she's not completely saying that there is or isn't, except going by those criteria that Paul was just reading.
Yeah, and I'm concerned about that because we did ask her to go out and identify whether or not there were wetlands on the property.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I think that we have an option of hiring our own expert to take a look at these 2 reports and go out and do their own thing. Or,
Well, both the reports on reading them, they're both saying that the property there's so much human transported material that's been
Mhm.
brought onto the site over the years, prior to wetlands, prior to the current owner, that there's no real way to tell if that is in fact wetlands. It may have
Right.
been at one time, but it's been so disturbed.
right, well, that was my
I
point.
I think what we need to do is look at what's here and move forward from here.
Well-
What, if anything, do we want to do at all? Because there's no delineated wetlands there, and they can't delineate it because it's been
That-
disturbed.
Yes, well, that was my point at the beginning when I started talking about it. But
Mhm.
then I didn't realize, and you pulled up information that indicated from Cindy's report that there actually was wetlands for the drainage area, which can constitute a wetland, but it's a man-made wetland unless it was put in to drain an existing wetland, and we have no way of knowing at this point. So I feel, given the information in front of us, concerned for this landowner.
Mhm.
And I think I agree, we need to move on from here and make a decision about how we're going to treat this property in the future. I mean, the fact is, he's in a regulated area, so whatever he would do on this property would become regulated from that standpoint.
Mhm.
Are there wetlands on this property? Is there a drainage area on this property we'd like him to stay away from in the future? If there is, then we should, define that. And beyond that, I'm not sure what else we should do. I'm
Yeah,
asking you.
it's confusing because I'm looking at her letter again, and she says, in my opinion, an intermittent water course is present at the site. It's the drainage is an altered intermittent water course draining through an altered wetland. But that still means that there's a wetlands there. So yeah, I think if he does anything moving forward, we have to treat it like any other kind of wetland, but not any
Yeah.
other kind of wetland, but maybe not. I don't know. I'm confused as well.
Well, I mean, we have the option of hiring our own expert to delineate the area,
Maybe we should do that.
but I'm not
Now,
sure.
or if it becomes an issue in the future.
We could do that. I mean, I'm not sure that Mr. Greenbaum here will allow us to have access to the property, number one. Number two, we have on the record a report from a soil scientist that says, does he say there's no intermittent waterway, or does he say there's no intermittent waterway now?
Let's see.
Yeah, I don't have that one in front of me. Paul, you do, right?
There's none now.
Yeah, I'm trying to look it up.
You said it's dry.
Well, Jeff, can you clarify for me, this is Ken Johnson. Just what is he looking for? What does he want to do?
He's not asking
I-
to do anything. He is the subject of a potential cease and desist action by our commission.
Right, I understand that there was stuff on what could have been wetlands, and it has subsequently been removed.
That's
So
correct.
I don't see a problem.
On the original cease and desist, perhaps, but the question becomes going forward, which is why
Right.
we asked for an understanding of what was happening on the site from a wetland standpoint, so that we
Right.
would all be on the same page going forward.
Right.
I think you're right. There is a question mark about whether or not an intermittent waterway exists. And that any activity within, any activity that interferes with that waterway, I don't even know if there's a regulated area around an intermittent waterway. Is there, Ty? You know?
In general, you mean?
Yeah,
Ask that, what was that question again?
regulated area, does that apply to intermittent waterways? Or does it just apply to regular waterways and water bodies? I don't have my regulations in front of me.
Here's his
Well,
engineer's
well,
statement. Okay, his engineer's statement was further, the question has been broached whether the drainage corridor bisecting the property is regulated under Connecticut general statutes. The
Okay,
drainage corridor is clearly intermittent and was dry at the time of his visit on June 18th. In 1996, the Connecticut legislature changed the definition of intermittent watercourse as having defined permanent channel and bank and the occurrence of one or more of the following characteristics, which is what we talked about.
which is what
before.
Cindy said, right?
Yeah.
Cynthia,
And he's saying in conclusion, the property was investigated for the presence of regulated inland wetlands and negative results. Consideration was given to the historic use of the property. In my professional opinion, alteration of the soils on the property predate Connecticut wetland regulation. The condition of the drainage swale on the property was also evaluated and found not to be consistent with the intermittent watercourse definition contained in the general statutes, and therefore not a regulated feature.
and I don't know what the definition, according to Cynthia, she found it there and she felt it met the criteria.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the three things, having a defined bank.
Yeah,
In my opinion, the intermittent watercourse is present on the site. The guidelines for the intermittent watercourse are filled, what Dr. Go through that again. In this instance, the site has been altered through landscaping and other activities over time. The flow of water is through a man-made stone channel obscuring the evidence of scour. No detritus was evident because the bottom of the channel is obscured by flowing water. So she was out there on June 2nd.
right.
Wow. I mean, there's clearly water going through there at times.
Mhm.
So let's say again what the definition of intermittent watercourse is in terms of the regulations. We just said, I'm just going around in circles in my head.
Presence of
Okay,
water at least
um,
24 hours after a rain event. Is that consistent with what their consultant said?
Well, their consultant said something about this having been altered before a change in the wetlands regulations. Paul, is that what you just read to
Yes.
us?
Well, the timing of the alteration doesn't matter so much as whether or not it's there.
Okay, in
Is-
1996, the legislature changed the definition of intermittent watercourse as having defined permanent channel and bank, and the
Mhm.
occurrence of one or more of the following characteristics.
So same thing as Cynthia said. Okay.
Yes, evidence of scour or deposits,
Yeah.
of
Right.
recent alluvium or detritus, which she said was not evident because there was water, so she could not, tell. B, the presence of standing water or flowing water for a duration longer than a particular storm evidence,
Mm,
24 hours after a rain event,
Yeah,
she says.
okay? And the presence of hydrophytic vegetation,
And she says, since the watercourse flows through a mowed grassy area, little or no detritus was present, lawn grasses and not native vegetation is dominant through the area. My professional opinion is that the drainage is an altered intermittent watercourse draining through an altered wetland.
so for the purposes of what we need to do tonight, there is a cease and desist order on his property?
No, it was a notice of a possible cease and desist to
Okay.
determine.
So that
Yeah.
has never been put on the property.
That's
So
correct.
is there any actually any action that we need to take other than to just be aware moving forward? I mean, that would
Well,
be an official action.
I think we would have to make a determination that no unregulated activity occurred, so there is no cease and desist, or a determination that the activity has ceased and desisted, and there's no
Mhm.
reason to move forward with a cease and desist.
Yeah, I think either way, there's no reason to move forward with a cease and desist.
I would agree with that because of that first part that the stuff has been removed.
Right.
But the concern I have is how we treat this pot, and maybe that's all we have to do. Really.
I
But,
think
I
that
mean, I
really
think the
is all
cl-
we have to do, but clearly, I see what you're saying, flag the property or flag the file somehow that moving forward, we've
Well,
seen,
maybe. I'm sorry, go
Go
ahead.
I was just gonna say, moving forward, that this issue has come up, we've got these two different opinions, that the qualifications for the intermittent water course are clear. But one of these people said yes, and one of these people said no. I think maybe just have to put something in the file saying that if anything happens on that property again, we have to be aware of that. I don't know how to,
Well, no, but to take your thought just one step further, if there's any activity proposed that would in any way inhibit the flow of that intermittent water course,
right,
then we would probably have to hire our own consultant to go in and as part of an application for that
maybe that's the
activity.
way to do it, just to
I
make,
think,
yeah,
yeah,
that makes sense. But lift the threat
Potential.
of cease and desist now.
Yeah.
And then just red flag the property.
well,
our
or let the
file.
landowner know that because of the conflicting professional opinions about whether there is a intermittent water course on the site,
Mhm.
that future activities should come before the commission.
Yeah.
In a pre-application way.
Good idea.
And at
Yes,
that time, the commission may determine whether or not it needs to hire additional outside expertise.
that sounds
well,
good, Lynn.
if he's gonna do anything to the land, whether it's landscaping or additional outbuildings or putting in driveways, no matter what he does, there's got to be a permit taken out on that, and it's got to go before review through, everybody's got to sign off. And if at that point he's looking to do something, that's a time that I think that, we should say, there's this issue that we'd like to resolve.
Well, I guess what I'm saying close to what you're saying. My feeling is anything that he does on the property should come before the commission as a conversation, a pre-app or something,
Right.
because unless it's clearly an activity within a regulated area because of that pond or some other nearby off-property water course. I guess we need to understand whether or not the entire property is in the regulated area, because if it is, no matter what he does, he's going to have to come forward.
Mhm.
Well, if there is a pond on the abutting property.
Yeah, but how
uh,
far away is he?
That's what I was
Right,
gonna say. How far is it? Because if it's within 200 feet,
According to this map that we have, approximate wetlands areas, it appears that the pond is within, my guess would be 20 or 30, within 20 feet of the property line.
Okay, and how about the entire property, the farthest property line?
Well, there's two areas on this map here designated as approximate wetlands areas. There's one that goes right up to Bulls Bridge Road, and it appears is that this is a very, it isn't a very clear picture that I have here.
Which,
Mhm.
But
which
it-
map are you, I'm sorry, Ken, which map are you looking at?
It's 8.5 by 11
It's what
sheet.
Cindy's,
This is what Cynthia sent?
Yeah.
Okay. So we
It
need to take a
says-
look at where that property sits next to that pond, offsite, and whether or not the property's in a regulated area. It still doesn't answer the question. I mean, if we can answer that question, that no matter what occurs on this property, because it's in a regulated area of a nearby wetland or stream or pond, then we're going to be looking at this property again, regardless of what he wants to do, unless it's something as of right. And I'm not sure that, I mean, no matter what he would want to do on that property, I think would require a permit, whether it's a shed or whatever it is.
Mhm.
That doesn't really resolve the issue of whether or not there is a true regulated intermittent stream on the property. But in the course of reviewing future land use applications, we could require the hiring of our own consultant to make a
Mhm.
definitive
Mhm.
um, determination. 'Cause-
looking at Cindy's map here. The
Yeah.
intermittent water course looks like it's a drainage ditch because
Yep.
it starts from a culvert in the road.
Right,
So at some point that had been put in as probably, to drain the road.
or to carry
Mm.
water
Mhm.
from one area to a stream that the road bisected.
Possibly.
Yeah.
We don't know what's across the road as far
Yeah.
as,
That's Kaminsky's house. I think I'm trying to remember. It's sort of a low area, but I don't know. No, maybe that
We don't have- we
might
don't
be
have
a
a map
little
of
bit
that,
farther
though.
north. That a little bit farther east, I think, actually. I think that's the key question, two questions, or at least one question and a point. Question is, how far is this from the wetlands, all of his property? The other thing that I like, Lynn, is what you're saying about if they want to do something on the property in the future, come to us as a pre-application. And yes, and that's the point at which we would consider hiring a third person to assess it.
If it's in the, if it's going to
If it's
interfere
in,
with,
if we find that
intermittent
it's
water.
within 200 feet, yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think that's actually the key. If the entire property lays within a regulated area, no matter what he does, he's going to have to come to us.
Mm-hmm,
And maybe we simply make that clear.
mm-hmm.
And Ty, it's important that we try to figure that out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's
working on it
interesting that,
right now, but it'll take some time.
I mean, looking at the location of the pond on the map, it would go to say that most of that property looks like it's in a regulated area,
Correct.
regardless if it's flagged or not.
Yeah.
It's still 200 feet from the pond. It would be regulated area.
That's what Ty's trying to
Right.
find
Yes.
out.
Yeah, I mean, if it's 200 feet, that's correct.
Mhm.
But I'll have to
Verify.
dive into it a little bit.
Yeah.
Understand that, but I guess coming into it halfway, I'm just not understanding. He's not asking to do anything at this point.
No.
correct?
Correct.
I think he just
And-
wants to get the cease and desist threat lifted.
Well, I
I
agree with you,
think-
Marge. At this point, I don't see a point in having a cease and desist because the property's been cleaned up.
Right.
He's not doing anything else, but going forward, he should just be aware that the property is, not that it's wetlands, but it is in a regulated area and it needs to come before us.
Mhm.
And it does
at that
carry
point-
water. It does carry water through a drainage ditch that may have been an intermittent stream at one point.
Mhm.
Right.
So the property is sensitive from that standpoint, and the fact, if we can determine that it is almost entirely, if not entirely, within the regulated area, Ty, it would be important of a wetland, and we'll name the wetland, it would be important to include that in whatever letter we write to him.
Okay.
So I guess we need to, I'm not sure actually what is legally required here. We never issued a cease and desist.
Right.
No, it
Do
was
we
a-
need a motion to move not to pursue a cease and desist? Do we need to do that?
I don't
'Cause we-
think so.
I move that we,
Well,
I don't think we need
that
to, Ken.
what you just said.
Ken,
Yes,
I don't think we need to make any motion here because nothing was actually ever done. So there's no reason to make a motion to undo something.
oh, okay, agreed. Mhm.
So at this point, on behalf of the Wetlands Commission, or is this something that Ty does as the land use officer, is write a letter to Mr. Greenbaum stating what we just discussed?
yeah, and I think letting him know that we have agreed that no cease and desist order is necessary.
Mhm.
Yep, and also alerting him, and Ty, I could help you with that if you want, or maybe Marge or Paul could help. Just alerting him that, assuming we can say this, that the property is within the regulated area of such and such pond or blah, blah, blah. So any future activities, please come to us with an application
Pre-application,
or a
yeah.
pre-application, yeah.
I like pre-application because that means that we can work with him.
Mhm.
Okay,
Show good faith. Yeah.
I'll draft something and I'll send it over to you then, and you're happy with it. Or
does anybody else want to look at it too?
Happy to if you need to, but it sounds
always
pretty
good with the
simple and
words, Marge.
straightforward. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right, thank you.
Happy to do that.
Okay. Great. So we don't
Wow.
have to move, we don't have to take a vote, we're,
I really don't think so.
okay. And let's make sure that minutes accurately reflect the conversation. All right. And I'm kind of surprised Mr. Greenbaum isn't here because
So he did contact me, and he had a conflicting meeting, last minute meeting with Park and Rec Commission that he's on, so he apologized and said he couldn't.
okay, you actually might want to, okay, that's great. I was gonna say you might want to call him and let him know, but maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe you
Just
wanna
wait
put
till
it
the
in
letter.
writing.
They
Wait
send
for the
them a
letter.
letter.
I mean, if he needs to reach out, he will. And then just otherwise, I think just give him the letter and let's take it from there.
Okay,
You can watch this video. Post it.
okay, great. All right. My agenda stops right there for some reason.
I think there was just a finance, it's going back to the,
Oh, there's a
my
second
folder.
Yeah, there's just the budget report July through August, which is
And I did not, I don't think I got that in my packet, so I trust others to take a look at it. I don't know if you want to, is there anything of import? It's just the first quarter, right?
Yep.
Right. Okay, anything else we want to talk about? I want to say how sorry I am to have missed Donna's going away party. That was just, it's just been a really ridiculous time. We decided to do our in-person auction again. But we
Oh my
decided,
God, Lynn. Wow.
I know, and we decided to
my
do it at the
God.
very last minute.
Ouch.
Yeah. So it's been 12 to 14-hour days for the last 3 weeks. Weekends and weekdays. It's just been crazy. The good thing is we've got a great crew of staff and board that are helping. So,
Good.
but still we have a lot of work, a lot to do.
When's the
And
auction?
November 20th, but all the
Oh.
deadlines come up, you got to get the
Yeah.
invitation out, then you got to get the items, then you got to get the catalog printed, then you got to get, I mean, and then we're doing it at South Farms, which is new for us, but that means all new vendors. And if you guys haven't hired vendors for events recently, everything has gone up, not by 20%, but by 3, 4, 5 times. It's
Wow.
unbelievable.
Wow.
And it's basically the cost of people, paying people.
Yeah.
And who can
Yeah.
argue with that? People need to make a living wage. But
Yeah.
wow. So I just couldn't do it. Did the rest of you go?
I did. Ty
I was
did.
away.
You were away.
I
Yeah.
was there.
It was
It was a
fun.
it was a good turnout, yeah.
It was very nice. Yep.
Yeah.
I think
Well.
she was happy.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna call Donna. I guess I'll have to call her myself. And then you guys took the Naugatuck chocolate and wine train. That is supposed to be a
Oh,
lot of fun.
wow.
Was it
Yeah.
fun?
Yeah, yeah, it was the girls from town hall, we got together to do that with them. Celebration. We had a good
That's
time.
cool. The pictures were beautiful.
Sounded very good.
Yeah, perfect time of year.
Yeah, yeah. That was fun.
Cool.
And they did approve the job description at the last Board of Selectmen meeting, so that's a positive thing. The job, I think, was posted today. We have to just go through the normal process. But,
I'm sorry, I missed what you just said. What happened at the Board of Selectmen meeting?
the job description for the assistant,
Got
that
approved?
it was approved by this.
Oh, that's great.
So,
Yay!
so now the job is
Good.
posted and we're going through the formal process of hiring somebody.
Well, that's
Yeah.
fantastic. Okay,
Excellent.
that's exciting news.
It
I was
is.
afraid to ask you about that, but that's really good to hear. Okay,
It's going in a good direction.
yeah, all right. And how has your first month been? Everything been okay?
It's
Okay.
been very quiet. I mean, you could see by the agenda, not too much new stuff is coming in. So I don't know if I've just gotten lucky or, things are taking their turn because of the economy. I'm not sure what's happening, but I'll take it.
Okay. Okay, well, thanks, you guys. I really appreciate it. It's good to see
All
you
right.
all. And,
Good.
All right, I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll
Seconded.
second. What? All right.
Okay, all in favor? All right.
Aye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Have a great
Bye.
week. Thank you.
Good night, all.
Good night.